Wow, we just completed a trip that was over 4,500 miles worth of driving in the RV. We hit the Southwest via I-10 and came back via I-40, doing a complete circle of the Southwest and seeing everything possible that we could. You can see our trip plan here, as well as the miles traveled and the drive time it would have taken doing this trip non-stop, which is 67 hours. So it's a pretty long non-stop drive. We visited 9 states and drove through a total of 12 to make this trip happen. You can see all the states we hit here, with the 3 drive-through states being Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. So today I wanted to recap the good and the bad of this trip, but I will say up front, it was mostly good. So the first state we hit was Mississippi, and we hit Mississippi because that was a midway point between New Orleans, Louisiana, where our final destination really was. But we did spend about a week here to do some resting, and so I could do some working. And I will include a link to the campground that we stayed at up here somewhere if you want to check that out, if you're going to be in the Mississippi area on the eastern side of the state. But it was a pretty cool place, and there was a lot of good eating around there, so that always worked out real well. So we did get to eat well, just in a kind of rest layover area, just for me to get a week's worth of work in. So the second state we went to was New Orleans, Louisiana, and that place was it's a really fast place, and it was a blast. So we got to stay at an incredible state park, and again, I'll include a link up here somewhere to the state park campground review that I did. It was amazing. Got to see some very cool levee systems. First time I ever got to see that. Got to see some cool airboat riding, which was absolutely incredible. And then you get into the city, and in the city we did do the river walk, which was really fun. It's really neat to go see that. And then in the main city, the first time we went at night, and I will tell you, the nightlife in New Orleans is not for me. I did not feel real comfortable there. I know a lot of younger people love it. I'm not part of that crowd anymore. But we did go back during the day. We went down to Bourbon Street, got a meal, got a drink that was pretty pricey, but well worth it. And which is nice to say that we had been there. And there is so much to see and do there. We went to the aquarium and just checked out the whole place. And if you're just going for pure entertainment and pure fun, I will say you can't hardly beat the city of New Orleans in Louisiana. So definitely one that you should go see if you've never been there. So the next state that we hit is the state of Texas. And this is where we try to go for the winter, just to get away from the cold. And as many people know, that didn't work out too well last year, but we'll get more into that in a few minutes. But the cool thing about Texas is we are Thousand Trails members, and there are tons of Thousand Trails in Texas and Encore Park. So if you are a Thousand Trails member, you can probably move around the whole state of Texas, and between those you would probably never have to pay for a day of camping, which for the most part, other than when we left Texas in West Texas, we did not have to pay for any camping. So the first piece that I'll mention is actually on the I-40 route. So it was on our route back, but it was the Cadillac Ranch, which was absolutely amazing. It is kind of a quick stop off. Obviously you could stay as long as you wanted to, but for us it was a fairly quick one, you know, and I will show some footage of our time there here so you can see that. But we really had a good time there. And one of the bigger things, and this was around the San Antonio area, or actually in San Antonio, was the Alamo, which was a huge bucket list item for me. Again, this is a quick visit. You're not allowed to take any footage or really pictures inside. You can take some outside, but absolutely incredible place. Highly recommend everybody going to the Alamo. And then just the whole city of San Antonio. San Antonio is absolutely amazing. We had a blast while we were there. There's so much to see and do just inside of the city. So while you're at the Alamo, I do highly recommend going and checking out the actual city as well. They've got the river walk there. You can go down through it, and you know, their version of it, I have to say, is probably one of the prettiest that I've ever seen. Definitely recommend San Antonio as a city to visit for everybody. So now we'll move back kind of towards the east side of Texas, which I have to say the east side of Texas was definitely my favorite part. It's a lot greener. Really loved it. We were actually at Lake Conroe, but we were really close to Houston. We did spend a lot of time in Houston, and I loved the city of Houston. I just thought there was so much to do and see there. We went to the Space Center, which was absolutely incredible. We got to see the actual first ever SpaceX ship that they shot up into outer space, which that was really cool. And they've actually got some of the older space shuttles there as well. And then there's just so much to learn and see and do there. We also got to go check out a zoo, which was absolutely incredible, the Houston Zoo. And many of y'all know we hit a lot of the zoos as we're traveling around the country. We can't get enough of those in, so pretty much everywhere we go we try to hunt down a zoo, but we love them all, but Houston's was a really good one. So one of the other things that I'll mention, and this is actually up in Amarillo, Texas, so again this will be on your I-40 route, was the Big Texan, and that was incredible. Actually, Bob from Blue Wave Odyssey and Steve from Steve Turtle had told me about this place, so we went and stayed at the Big Texan campground, and we went to the Big Texan restaurant, and both are absolutely fabulous. We rode the limo over to the restaurant, which was really cool. Just the whole atmosphere, the whole setting was really neat, and anybody that's in the Amarillo area going to be going through there, I highly recommend doing that. It is a little bit pricey, but it is very, very much worth the price that you paid for everything that you get to do. And again, so the last thing I'll talk about was getting away from cold weather in Texas. So as many people know, that didn't work out real well. We actually got hit by 3 different snowstorms while we were there. 2 of them were very major snowstorms, and that was well, that was a rough time. But thankfully to Mel and Nettie from Mel and Nettie Living Free Zip Codeless, we were able to get out and get the stuff we need. Let me tell you what, those people are just amazing people. Anybody who hasn't got to meet up with Mel and Nettie or hasn't checked out their channel, definitely check them out. These are people you do want to be friends in your life, because they are absolutely phenomenal people, and I really do want to say thank you to both of them for helping us through that situation. Mel has his Jeep. He took me everywhere I needed to go because my little 2-wheel drive car is not going anywhere in any kind of snow, so they were just very helpful, helped us keep water in our rig and everything else. So I'm very thankful for their friendship and very thankful for the help of when we were there, and very thankful that we got to meet them as well. So after we left Texas, the next state that we hit was New Mexico. And New Mexico was interesting because it was still very locked down with all the COVID stuff, but we did there for sure get the best campsite that we've ever had, and I will show a little display of that right here. But it was a KOA, it was the Las Cruces KOA campground, and we absolutely loved the campsite that we had. Looking at the mountains, just the view was incredible. We also got to go to White Sands National Park, which was something I was mixed on, but once we got there, wow, what a place to go see, and just it was just an incredible thing. And also got to go through my first ever Border Patrol checkpoint on the way out to White Sands, so that was neat and interesting all at the same time. Did try to cut up with the guy a little bit at the Border Patrol, but they tend not to joke around too much, so but it was fun, and we had a blast out there. So definitely go check out White Sands National Park. So moving on a little bit further west into New Mexico, we hit Deming, New Mexico next, and we were only there for a few days, but based on some feedback from the roads we roam, Russ and Carrie, we did go hit City of Rock State Park, and that was a really cool place. We didn't camp there. We actually camped at an escapees park in the area, but the park was really cool. Just it's a bunch of big tall rocks that you can go stand up on, a bunch of different formations, and again, it was still a little locked down just due to all the COVID stuff. But again, if you're in Deming, New Mexico, it's a pretty cool area to rest in. There's not a whole lot there, but City of Rock State Park is definitely one that you would want to go check out. It was a really cool place, and just neat to be able to go in and see it, and you pretty much have full access to everything in there, which is really cool. The downside of New Mexico for us was that I didn't get to do everything that I wanted to do. I do have 2 major things left to do, and one of those is going to Roswell, New Mexico. I love all that stuff. I'm not really a believer in aliens. It's not exactly my thing, but I still love all the history behind it and all the stuff that goes on out there with that stuff. So I really wanted to go in and check out Roswell. I just thought that would be a cool little tourist attraction. And of course, the bigger thing is Carlsbad Caverns. I really want to go back and check that out. So those are 2 things that I will be going back to New Mexico to do at some point. So after leaving New Mexico, we moved on into Arizona, and Arizona, I have to say, was probably my favorite Southwest state. It's just so pretty. There's so much to see and do there, and there was some personal things for me that I've always wanted to see that were in that state, and we'll get more into those. But one of the first things I'll talk about, and again, this is on the I-40 route closer to the Grand Canyon, is Bearizona, and that was one that Bob and Debbie from Blue Wave Odyssey had told me about. They actually went there with Box Van D, and this is more of a little side attraction, but it is very well worth it. You get so close to these, just massive animals, and it is just insane to see it. But they've got some insane, crazy big bears there. They've got wolves and everything that are just free roaming as you're riding through the park, and it is just absolutely amazing. One of the other things there is Meteor Crater, and again, this is on the I-40 route. Meteor Crater is a pretty cool place too. Obviously, most people know the history about them. They say that's the meteor that hit that killed off the dinosaurs and all that good stuff, but it is really cool. It's something to go see. I don't think it takes too long to see it. I mean, you really only need a couple hours there tops. Just going to see it and seeing the impact that this meteor had was absolutely incredible, and just the size of this thing is wild. So you actually get to walk around it and see it and all that stuff. So definitely highly recommend Meteor Crater. And another place that we went to as part of our I-40 route was the Petrified Forest and the Painted Desert. And before going there, I didn't realize that these two are actually part of the same park. I always thought it was two of its own separate parks, but we went. There was a lot of snow on the ground. It was pretty muddy. They'd actually had their only snowstorm there in like 4 or 5 years. Bigger snowstorm, I should say, according to the park ranger. So apparently bad weather tends to follow us. The Petrified National Forest and the Painted Desert, they're both very pretty areas. It's really cool to go see. Again, I don't think you need a lot of time in either one of these places. You could obviously make it a couple of day trip if you wanted to, but if you're wanting just to come and see the highlights of the park, again, a couple of hours you can be in and out of there, and that's about what we spent, just because it was cooler. But we had a great time there, and there is like I say, there's so much different stuff in there to see, so many different scenery shots that you can get. It's really a very, very cool place, and definitely I would say a place that everybody should see at least once in their lifetime. So to wrap up really the I-40 side, there was two other places, one being of course the Grand Canyon, and that was probably the biggest thing on my wife's bucket list to go see, and we did do that. Again, the views there are absolutely incredible, and again, I think you can go there for 2 or 3 hours. Unless you want to do a lot of hiking, you can go there and see everything that you want to see in 2 or 3 hours. But it is really cool being able to look over the ledges, and even getting to the part where there's no fence lines, where you can literally hang over the ledges, is really impressive. So, again, that's one of those things, do at your own risk. But, I got out a little bit, but I'm afraid of heights, so I'm not getting out there too far. But it was a blast, and I think the Grand Canyon, if you love to travel and you love to see the sights, the Grand Canyon has to be a must-see on everybody's list. There's, in my life, there's only 2 places that I would put ahead of that, to be honest, and that one is Niagara Falls. I really love that. And for me, the other is Disney World. I'm a big Disney fan, so, those 2 would probably be up there for me, but the Grand Canyon's right there at a close third, so it was very, very impressive. Of course, this is one I went to again due to Bob from Blue Wave Odyssey, but Winslow, Arizona, that's another pretty quick stop, but it is truly an amazing place. And Bob, I'll just put in this footage, and this is specifically for you. I know I told you I had some footage for you, so this is it, buddy. I'll be interested in seeing what you think, and this will probably be the one and only time you'll ever hear me sing on a video or a live stream or anything else. All right, Bob. This one's for you, buddy. Standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford, slowing down to take a look at me. That's all you get, Bob. If I do any more, Debbie will leave you. Bye, buddy. The End Out, Arizona, and we done this on our I-10 route when we stayed in Benson, Arizona, but for me, this is what made Arizona the best state, and that was Tombstone. I absolutely had a blast at Tombstone. It was everything I thought it was going to be. I love old westerns. I love new westerns. I love any westerns. So, I've just always been about that, and going to Tombstone, wow, that place, they know how to do it up there. They do it right. We went to the show. We walked through all the shops. We done all that stuff, and it was just absolutely incredible. But I would go back to Tombstone 10,000 times over again, just because I liked it so much. So next is California, and we really only scratched scraped the edge of California. We were supposed to go to San Diego because we wanted to go to the San Diego Zoo, which is supposed to be the best zoo that there is. But again, California was very locked down with COVID restrictions. They had just opened the zoo back up and they were only letting in so many people per day, and we just didn't think that we would be able to get in the line to get into it. So we have decided to, we actually drove through Needles, California, hung out there, done some stuff, and we made our way on into Nevada after that. So it was a really short trip into California, but we have decided that we're going to come back and try to do Washington, Oregon, and California together, and more or less spend more time in all three of those states instead of trying to rush through Southern California. So that is our goal, to get back there and see a whole lot more of that state. So Nevada, that was our next state, and that's a very, very fun state. We actually stayed in Laughlin, Nevada, which is very south in Nevada, and we had a casino at our campground, which was really cool. Got to go over and check it out, got to go over and eat some food. But then we also went to the Hoover Dam while we were there, and the Hoover Dam was another thing that was on my bucket list that was a major see, and it was everything I thought it would be. I absolutely loved that place. It was amazing. There's just so much to see and do in one location there, and you're right on the border between Nevada and Arizona right there. So I will advise everybody, if you go to the Hoover Dam, just keep driving through the Nevada side and drive back onto the Arizona side. You can park for free and just walk back down and see everything, and it really doesn't add that much time or that long of a walk. But if you park on the Nevada side, it's about $15 to $25 to park. So that was a quick tip I learned along the way up there. And then of course in Vegas, going down the Vegas Strip, we didn't get to actually go into Vegas and do a whole lot, but we did drive down the Strip on the way back from the Hoover Dam, and that looks so cool. So our plan on the Vegas Strip, that is not somewhere I want to go in the RV. I actually want to fly back out to Vegas. I want to stay in a hotel right on the Strip and be able to walk to everything that I want to go see. Just, I think having to drive in and drive out of there wouldn't be fun, but if you can stay local and walk around and go do everything you want to me, that's the way you see Vegas. So that is our plan, to go back and do that. But I will say I did absolutely love the parts of Nevada that we got to see. It was a really pretty place, and I really enjoyed it there. So now I'm going to skip us ahead a little bit because I have shared some of the I-40 route that we took on the way back already. So I'm basically going to skip us ahead to Oklahoma. And Oklahoma was, we were very happy to hit into Oklahoma because we were back in the grass. And, as much as we loved our time in the desert and as much as we loved seeing the desert, and really that was our first long-term experience in the desert, to have grass back was really nice. We really missed it. I do have to say I'm definitely more of a grass person, and I know our dogs loved having grass back, so that was a huge adjustment for them while we were out there. And so we were just glad to be back in Oklahoma. We were seeing grass again. We actually stayed in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, which was a really cool city. We enjoyed it, getting to drive around and just see all the sights that they have there. But the main thing in Oklahoma City, obviously, Oklahoma City Memorial to the bombing that took place there, and that hit close to home for me because at that point I was actually working at Sonic Drive-In, my first ever real job, and I was a manager there, and our headquarters was based out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So when the bomb went off, it did directly impact the company that I worked for. So to go see that was really cool, and to I do think it's important to go back and not forget those who were lost in that, and pay respects to all the fallen. And when you go see that, you see the smaller markers that were set out there for all the children and stuff, and that's just really sad that those kids didn't get to experience a full life. But I do think it's something definitely that everybody should experience and see, and something that nobody needs to forget. So from Oklahoma, we headed on back into Arkansas. So we kept traveling back east, and there we got to see the Ozark Mountains on our way in, which was really cool. We haven't seen mountains with actual trees and grass on them in quite a long time, so we got to see some bigger mountains, but definitely not some greener mountains. So that was really cool to get to see that. And we ended up staying in Little Rock, Arkansas. We stayed there for a few days and kind of checked out a little bit of the area. Very cool area. Little Rock was actually a lot smaller than what I thought it was going to be, so I kind of like it. I like the small city feel. But we just spent like 3 or 4 nights there, and from there we moved on back into Tennessee, and we will follow up with that on the next part here. So After just over 5 months on the road, we left out in November and we got back to the cabin that you can see behind me here in April. We are now back here, so you see the RV's parked over here. It's got its spot. It's really good to be back here at the home base, and we are planning on being here for a few months, so we've got a lot of work we need to get done around here, a lot of stuff we want to get fixed up and kind of get this place rolling so we can have a good place to set up when we don't want to RV. But with that, we are now officially back in Tennessee. We are very happy to be back in our home state, and I hope y'all have enjoyed this video of just our tour over the Southwest for over a 5-month period. It was a very long roundabout trip, but we did have a great time, and man, did we get to see a whole lot of stuff. It was definitely worth it. Knocked a lot of stuff off our bucket list, and we are now in the process of planning our next trip. So I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.